This is Bino. Today I wanted to show you guys one of my hobbies. It's creating bonsais. And today what I'll do is I'll make one from scratch. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I trim them and some of the things I do to create it. Can be kind of inexpensive, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. By no means is it traditional bonsai, but you can have fun while you do it. Okay, so it all began with this crepe myrtle. It's a Lagerstromia muskogee. Now this one I got is a tiny little sapling, and I've had it for about 13 years now. It's really nice because you can see some of the mature bark on it, which I really enjoy. It is different because it's not really in a bonsai pot, but I couldn't see transplanting it because I really liked the way this one turned out. Now as I'm showing you my trees, I'm going to tell you the type of cuts that I use. On this I did thinning cuts and pinching back, and I'll explain what that is later. So the next two I wanted to show you, these are two store-bought 1 gallon Ticomeria Compense Cape Honeysuckle. So I really looked through the different pots to look at the cool trunks, and when I'm looking, that's what I'm looking for. These ones are really cool because look at the bark that they have on the mature looking trunk. So the next ones I wanted to show you, well, this is also another store-bought one, but it's a Buxus japonica, a Japanese boxwood. And what I really like about this is the different type of bark that it has. It's kind of rough, and the small leaves. I really enjoy that part about it. So these next two were pulled out of the ground. They were just out in the field, and I saw them and I was like, wow, that's cool structure, even when they were small. So this one is a Brazilian pepper. It's a Chinus terebinthifolius, and with this one I mostly do thinning cuts, and I do put these ones inside the traditional bonsai pot. Now this is a Chinese elm. It's an almost parvifolia, and this I kind of do mostly thinning cuts. And then the next one I have, actually the next two, this one and this one. This one here is also another Chinese elm, and we got a Podocarpus gracilior, I think also known as Afrocarpus falcata, African fern pine. They grew from seed, and what was cool about them growing from seed, because it has a full-on regular tree structure without that big cut that you sometimes have to do. This was just brand new, barely starting out, so we're going to see what comes of it. And you know, honestly, it was free because it came right out of the ground. So the next one I got here is a Ficus rubiginosa, a rusty leaf fig. A friend of mine didn't want to throw it away, so he gave it to me, and I kind of cut it in half. This one has been thinning cuts and pretty much heavy cuts. And then the next two I want to show you, we're also store-bought some more. It's a Buxus japonica, Japanese boxwood, and then a Cape honeysuckle, Ticomeria Compense. Now I really like the way they look because really, you know, the bark. This one I've kind of performed some thinning cuts and some pinching cuts, and on this one I've done mostly pinching cuts. What's really cool is the way the bark turns out, and in the structure. When these ones were store bought, so when I'm in the store and I'm looking, I try to see the character of the trunk. Okay, so I'm gonna go over some of the things that I'm going to use to create the bonsai. So I bought this soil here from the House of Bonsai. Well, they make it with some gravel and some sandy loam and organic, some perlite. This is really good soil if you're going to put it in a bonsai pot. But if you plan on using, say, a regular type of a pot, you can even get potting mix from, say, Home Depot or Lowe's, and that's really pretty good. The thing is, if it's a small pot like a bonsai pot, it could dry out really fast if you use regular potting mix, so something like this would be better. Also, I'm going to use some wire for bending, and this I also got at the House of Bonsai, but you can pick up like baling wire at Home Depot or Lowe's. That also could work. This right here is a root De-tangler. Well, I don't know if that's an official name, but that's what I call it. I bought it at the House of Bonsai, and it's meant to pull the soil from the roots. And also, this is just a big nail that I took the top off. I use it as a tamper or to remove some soil also. Really cheap. You could use anything, screwdriver, ice pick, even a piece of wood. This is also what I use as tamping, so once I put it in the pot, I use that to tamp. Now these are some of the different pruning shears I use. This is, I believe it's a Corona. It's one of the cheaper varieties. I like this for the little bit larger branches. It's good to use. This is a bonsai shear I actually bought at the House of Bonsai. These are a little bit more expensive. You don't have to buy one of these things. You can just use a household scissors. They'll work just fine. This will be used more for the smaller branching, so more like maybe the pinching back cuts. And this one right here I like to use for cutting the roots and for cutting the wire. This is the bonsai pot that I plan to use. Got it at the House of Bonsai. And I'm gonna use this Japanese boxwood. It was a 1 gallon I got over at Home Depot. So this is the one I went and got at Home Depot. It's a 1 gallon container and the boxwood. So what I'm looking for when I go and I'm gonna buy a container plant is I'm gonna look at the base of it. So when I move it, I want to make sure the roots aren't like just really loose. It feels like the roots are filling up the container, which is pretty good. I'm going to look for the structure of it. So you'll be out there looking, and you look for a tiny tree with what you want to try to buy. Look at some of the branches. I kind of want to have an upright growing bonsai, and I'm thinking these ones I'll maybe cut back and I'll bend them to kind of give it more of a broad canopy. So that's kind of what I'll do. I'll look all the way, give it a 360, see if there's things that I can work with. Yeah, so that's what I do when I go pick one out. Alright, so now I'm going to take this out of the pot, and I'm going to start removing the soil from the roots. So it's kind of, what I like to do is I kind of get it and I'll roll it a little bit. I'll pick it by its main stem, and I'll tap it. It's a nice, good sign. The roots are all white. I think they're white. Anyhow, set this on the ground. Now what I'll do, I'll get this De-tangler, and then I'll start opening up the root area. And I'm going to try to do it gently so I can save as many roots as I can. You know, I'm going to lose some, and this is going to definitely go into some shock. You can also massage it with your hand. Let me go once around here. And I'll probably use my big gun too. There we go. Oops. A long one here. Sometimes this is nice to go straight through the center. A little bit blunt. Yeah. Go downward. And I'll remove some of these also. Open it up. Now if this is a big one, you might have to wire it in, but this size I won't need to wire it. The wiring is where if it's so top heavy, you put wire on the roots and feed them through the bottom of the pot, and just to hold it in place. And I won't need to do that with this one. It's small enough. Kind of like opening up these roots here. So I do have to cut some of these out in order for it to fit the pot. I want to try to like cut them back to where it just doesn't go into way too much shock. Okay. Let's see how that's going to look. Yeah. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'll take some of the bottom ones off more, and I'll keep more of these side ones. For now, I'm going to keep as many as I can. Okay, let's take it back out. And now what I'm going to do is I'll cut some of these lower bottom ones underneath. I don't want to have those. I'll do it with my root shears here. try to keep some of the side ones so I'm not taking way too many off. Well, it's always a chance you take. It'll be important to give this lots of water once we pot it up. Now I'm going to look how I want it to sit in the pot. What side do I want to have? I think this actually will look pretty good. Okay. Now I'll grab some soil and I'll start shoveling it in. Let's see. I'll get this over here. Whoa. So I'll throw some on the bottom. So I kind of want the base to be like solid too, but I want to give it enough. Rim on top, so when I decide to put water in it. Oh shoot. Alright, and so you want to go through, so what I'm going to do first is I'll kind of surround it, and then before I start packing, I'll surround it with some soil, and once I get it to where it's a little bit of soil in there, and I'm ready to start packing, then I'll do it. See how it's really loose right now? So now I got soil. I think I got it in where about I want it in the pot. I kind of sometimes like to have these little roots showing here. See how they have. Sometimes it's kind of cool when you see that in a bonsai. So now I'm going to use my tamper stick and I'll just start packing in the soil. See how loose it is? So what I'm going to do is I'm really going to make sure it's all solid. I'm going to even poke through to the center a little here. I'm going to work my way around the pot. Yeah. Now, if this was a big bonsai or a bigger tree, what I might have to do is wire these roots. You would get wire and you put it through the bottom and just tighten it up if you were worried about it falling over. But I think once I pack this, it'll be solid and I won't have to worry about it. It's a small tree. Plus what I'm going to do with this one is after we pot it, I'm going to do a little bit of trimming. Let's see that. Cool. Brush off some of this to the end. Alright. So I think that's what I'm planning here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at the structure. Now I want to start talking about the pruning of it. So earlier when I was talking about pinching, thinning, the reason I mentioned that is because in those types of cuts you can change what your plant's going to look like. So a pinching cut, see, all plants have hormones, and on all their terminal ends there's hormones. And the more of those terminal ends you take off, now the thicker the tree will grow. Tree, plant, shrub, whatever it is, it'll grow thicker. Because when you take terminal ends off, the hormones put to the plant to grow thicker. So a pinching cut would be coming to like a bud here and cutting it at that point. So if I made a bunch of cuts like that, I would see this plant getting it thicker. So that's a pinching cut. Now a thinning cut is where you go back and remove one from, say, a main stem. A drop crotching cut, so if I wanted to reduce the length, I'll cut up to one that's almost the same size. Now on a bonsai, it's not the same as like trimming a big tree because it really kind of doesn't matter. But what it does do, if I take this piece off, the energy goes from this stem to this branch here. So then in a thinning cut, your plant won't grow as thick. So if you want a bonsai that's going to be more open looking, then you'll try to do more thinning cuts. Now if you want a bonsai that's going to be thick, then you're going to do a lot of pinching cuts. And there's kind of a trade-off if you do thinning and pinching. But I'll go over that in a little bit. So what I'm looking for now is some of the structure that I want to have here. So I'm going to make this guy the main leader. And I'm probably going to keep this one, but it's kind of competing, so I'll figure out what I'm going to do in a moment on that. Now I think these two are really close together and they're close to the same size, so I'll take one of them off. So when you're using bypass pruners, instead of cutting with the this is called an anvil. Instead of cutting with the anvil closer to the cut, it's a good idea to tilt or put the flat side to the cut. Let me see if I can do it without ruining it. Oh, it's got a bad angle. So I'll take this one off. There I go. So now I'm going to look around and see what I want for structure. So now I'm going to go here. I got a couple of branches here. I want to take this one off. So I'll take it over here and take that guy off. Okay. Now I'm going to, it's kind of thick through the center. So I'm going to go inside and take some of these interior branches. And I don't want to take something that I want to keep. So I'll see what I can get. A couple of these interior branches here. Okay, let me open it up. Okay. I probably won't do a whole heck of a lot on this first time around. Let me get these smaller ones here, because I do want to keep some. So see how there's like 3, 4 in a row? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and take one out. And I'm going to try to balance it out a little bit here. So I'll take this guy out. Well, you know, maybe I just might keep that one. No, I'll take the one above it. Let's see here. Okay. And then some of this interior stuff so I can get a good eye. I'm just going to take some of these leaves off so I can see. See here. I get a good idea what this trunk's going to look like. Some of this interior here. There. Open it up and I'm going to rotate it a little. Okay, I got an upward growing branch here. So these are like thinning cuts here. When I'm going along the side here, it's more of a thinning cut. And so I've got another couple in a row. I'll take one out. So now it's going to open it up some. In a minute I'm going to do some, so even this right here is more of a thinning cut. I'm going to reduce it some, but I'm going to cut it to here. So this little stem will take the energy. Okay. So maybe right now, it's kind of good. So you see how this guy, this one right here wants to be the leader. It's taken over the main stem here. Well, and it might have been because maybe it was cut back in the past. You can see this old little stem. Now this one's going to take over. But we don't want that to take over. So I'm going to look at making this one the shorter one. So I think I'm going to cut it to this little piece right here. Just make it a little shorter than the main stem. And this is a drop crotching cut. There you go. Now, the one that's growing inward, I don't really need that guy anymore. So I'll take that one off. Okay, and let me clean this cut up a little bit better. Okay, that's kind of crummy. Sharper tools are good. Anyhow. Okay. So now I'm going to go to the top here. And it's really pretty crowded, so I want to take a couple of these interior ones out. There we go. And then right here, this one's thinning cut. Cool. And also another thinning cut. Cool. Now I'm going to do a little bit of pinching back here. So what I'm going to use is this one, because I kind of want to reduce the length of these guys. So I'll pinch it to there. And these ones are I kind of want to bring it down and kind of have kind of a shape. So I'll make a pinching cut here. And I'll make another pinching cut here. Kind of giving it a basic beginning, kind of how I want it to be. So it's really still pretty crowded on the interior. So what I'm going to do is take some of this inside stuff out. So got one there. And I'm going to take some of these little guys out so I can see the trunk and what I want to do. So the next step after I do this trimming, I'll start working on maybe bending some branches. So, but I don't want to go too crazy just yet. I kind of need to see the trunk. That's why I'm going to take some of these little guys out. Hope I don't have an oopsie-daisy. I've done it where I meant to cut something and I took it completely out. Here's the thing though, if you do that, I mean, you could probably repair it. It doesn't, you know, it's not set in stone what you remove. I mean, you can do a lot. You know, it's a bonsai, it's your creation. You can do whatever you want to it. So it's just kind of good in a way. Another drop crotch cut here. And then I'm going to do another little drop crotching cut over. Maybe I'll just do a pinching back cut. Maybe I don't want to take that out yet. Okay, so here, what I have here is kind of what I want to do for trimming. So the next thing I'll start to work on is wiring it. Okay, so I've already pre-cut some of the wires, but if I would, just want to show you what I would do. Since I got these ones with the little notch in it, I would just cut the length that I want and snip it. Okay, so I'll put that off to the side for now because I think I might have enough. So what I'm going to do is just push the wire down into the soil. See if we can do it without hurting roots. Okay, now I'm going to bend it around the branch and I'm just going to wrap. And I'll try not to, as I'm wrapping, I'm going to try not to break branches. Save the ones I want to keep. There we go. On there. There we go. Okay. Now the smaller branches are going to be easy to bend. So what I'm going to do is just kind of bend this one down the way I want it. Kind of outward. Yeah, I think that'll be kind of a nice beginning structure. So now I'm going to go to this big guy in the back here. I don't know if I can bend it very good just because it's kind of a thick branch. So what I'm going to do is I'll try to stick it into the soil here. And kind of deep maybe. Oh yeah, there it goes. Alright, now I'm going to wrap it around. And this one I might wrap it a little bit more wrapped. Now with these, you got to kind of really pay attention because what happens is when it starts growing, if you don't, it really can girdle your trunk, or your branches. What I'm going to try to do is, I guess, maybe make more turns. Maybe with more turns I might be able to bend it a little more. We'll see. Lift it up. And I might even leave this long so I can, because it's kind of a thick branch, I might even just connect it to the box. Like so. Now I'm going to try to bend it some. Okay. Just bend it out. Okay. It's really kind of a stiff branch. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring this piece, and for now I'm just going to hook it to underneath because I kind of want it to be a little bit, see if I can do it. I want it to be a little bit further down. I don't know if that's going to hold, but I'll just kind of leave it like that, and hopefully it stays. So now the branch above, kind of maybe I'll aim this guy that way. Okay, so I'll stick it in here. Go back behind it. Stick it there. I'm going to go around. Wrap it around here. Now I don't know if I'm going to take the length off of these things. I might just leave the length on. So like later if the branch grows and I decide to let it grow longer, I don't know, I'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to bend this guy here. No, I think I will take this one off. So I kind of bend it away from the other one. And then I'm going to cut this one here. There I go. I'm going to bend it back in so it's not in the way. Okay, so now this other branch here, I might just bend it out just a little bit and I'll use the piece that I cut. So here. Okay. Oops. I'll just hook it on another branch and then I'll bring it to here. Oops, maybe that won't work. I think I'll probably just stick it in the ground. Okay, here it goes. Alright. Now I'm coming up to this one and just keep on wrapping them. Oops, there we go. Okay, now this guy, I'm going to bend this guy downward and outward. Okay, so my structure would be more kind of a center leader, and then now my side branches are going outward. Now these little guys, I'll probably just leave them for now, but I think what's going to happen in the future is when they get bigger, so maybe I might bend some out. I'll bend this back a little bit so nobody bumps it. I'll still keep these ones on, so if I want a broader canopy, that's what I can work with. I don't think I'll trim any more to it. I think as it grows, then maybe it'll turn into a cool little bonsai. Since we finished trimming and potting it up, I'm putting it in this masonry pan with water to soak it. It went through a lot of shock, so right now I want to let it get, all the roots get all wet. So try to recover from some of the shock. So now with these bonsais, in the summertime in Southern California here, it gets kind of warm. So I usually will soak them once a week. During the wintertime, you might not have to, but I usually check them about every day to make sure that they're, moist, because you don't want them to, wilt and die on you. They can because it's a small pot. So upkeep and trimming the tree, basically you just got to keep an eye on it, and when it starts growing too long, then you'll have to do the type of trimming that you want to do, like pinching it back or thinning. So on this one I've done both pinching and thinning. So it's got more of a broad canopy, but I'll have to pay attention because I don't want it to get really large. These trees, if they're planted in the ground, they can grow to be about 25 feet tall. So it's kind of like you have to pay attention to it and make it shorter when you need it to. It's kind of what you need to do. On these guys here, I performed more of thinning. Now the reason I did kind of thinning, and I drought them out a little bit, the reason I do thinning cuts is because what happens is the flowers come out. They have an orange flower, and by letting it be thin, they'll bud out. It's really kind of cool because hummingbirds will come and feed on these guys. So you'll get a little bit more buds when you thin in that way. Well, but sometimes pinching back can cause more buds too, depending on what your plant is. So on this Chinese elm here, I did a little bit more of thinning cuts. So it's going to be more open. And I kind of try to keep it with balanced branching. That's kind of a nice way to keep this. What's really cool about these guys is they have really small leaves, and they kind of put a look of a real small tree. Now this one over here, I've done more pinching cuts, so it does kind of have more of a broad looking canopy. So on this one, I've done mostly pinching cuts, and it's created this really green canopy. Now the trade-off is, now I don't get as many buds because I have to trim it so often. It'll stay more green, and I don't get those orange flowers. But it's the way it looks. It looks kind of cool that way also. So we just went over on how to create a bonsai. You can have fun with it, and it really doesn't have to be very expensive. Like some of these I mentioned, I got them out of the ground, and some I bought as a 1-gallon container, which can kind of go for about $8 maybe. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I had fun making these and making the video. Comment, like, and subscribe. I got an Instagram. Hopefully you guys check it out. And also, while you're checking out the video, hit that bell if you like what we do. It'll give you a notification whenever we upload a video. Alright, take care.